Okay, well, I'm here today because a friend of mine asked me to introduce myself. I'm a retired teacher from British Columbia, and we were talking about things about what's important in education and how things have changed. So for the last 35 years, there's been lots of changes in education. There's more emphasis now on computers and sort of less emphasis on human relationships and things like that. So, I would say in the past it was very dictative and, um, yeah, so it was very much prescribed and people had to follow a certain way of doing things. And I would say in the future now we have 30, oh, the future now. So the future of education now is that the curriculum has changed recently and students will be assessed differently. They will have more input into their letter grade or their mark or their performance. It's called standards-based grading. So they have more ownership of their own mark or their own performance. And so that's been a big change. And other things that have changed, I would say, is that the curriculum is going away from things like so much writing, English, math, because so many things can be taught online and so many things can be acquired by individuals just by using the internet and figuring out if they want to learn something they can actually teach themselves. So there's quite a bit of movement in education away from traditional education to now more freedom to learn whatever you want to learn. So I'm not sure about the future of education. It could be that schools may not be necessary. Parents and families and government might decide to reorganize and reshape schooling into a completely different format. We know that in BC, lots of families are homeschooling now. And the current crisis with COVID-19 was a real test to see how people would manage in terms of their education. So some families did a lot of supporting their children online with a lot of lessons that teachers were producing. And then in some districts, we went from online back to in-person to support the children of the essential workers that need a lot of support. So there's been a lot of changes in education, and I would say that the future the future looks bright. It's just going to be very different from anything that I think anybody's ever really seen before. And I think there'll be more emphasis on parents and families organizing what they want their children to learn. There probably won't be a very standard curriculum. It'll be very multi and varied. So it'll be interesting to see how the post-secondary institutions cope with that and what will be the standards for entry into post-secondary, i.e. university and colleges and things like that. So I was just going to add to the story that I feel very fortunate to have been a public school educator for over 35 years. It was a very, very big learning experience. And I've seen 3 big generations of changes go through the public education system. And I just wanted to thank all those people that helped me along the way, lots of administrators and teachers, colleagues, our association, and things like that. It was very, very helpful in terms of supporting students and families, in the future and in the past. So I'd just like to thank all my colleagues, and they know who they are. Okay, so I was just going to say that what I've learned from the COVID-19 experience, pandemic in British Columbia, was that teaching online and then teaching in person and a combination of all of those for the last 3 months led me to believe that there's going to be a way more demand in the future for private education and ways of working with students that are online and in person, depending on what a person needs, what a student needs. I think that's the future. So for myself, I'm retired and I don't have a big plan for my future. I've always planned most of my activities for my life, but now I'm going to just sort of leave it open and see what happens. And I do look forward to helping lots of young people with their education, either online or in person. And so I think will be my next endeavor.